Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Voice of the Dirt Road. Here's Sean. Glad to be able to talk to you today. Glad to be able to discuss because there's a lot of things going on in agriculture this week. And I tell you, I think farmers everywhere this morning at breakfast or at a cup of coffee, we're talking with other farmers are talking about the screwworm, and we'll talk about that later on in the show. But let me tell you, this is episode 33. I'm excited that we're actually being able to bring this information to you. I'm excited that y'all guys continue to follow me. And as we further develop this particular show and the things we bring into you, we're still talking to ourselves internally. And also, I encourage your feedback on should I do more shows kind of like at night or in the afternoon where we take a deep dive into a specific issue or whatever. I've done some of that stuff in the past. But before I get into let me talk about the stew and kind of tell you what this show is all about. And if the stew there, if you, I always like to make sure because I'm not sure we're always gaining new viewers, and I want to make sure that people understand that when we talk about this show, we have a foundation in it, and it was based off this stool, and the stool is based off these is everything we talk about or things that are happening in the rural community. That's why we call it Voices from the Dirt Road. If you look at that dirt road being red clay, that dirt road represents where I came from in Southwest Georgia, a little small town, Blakely, Georgia, Early County. And still today, my family still lives on that same red clay dirt road. So from that, I was born and raised on a farm. Love being in the military, but I love now being out of the military and having my own cattle farm. So I am on the part of the livestock side. That's part of the stew is livestock. And will you put that stew back up again? So when we look at this show, I am in the lane of livestock. It's another set of the show where we talk about row crops, and then there's another part of the show where we talk about forestry. And then on top of all of those things, USDA is that umbrella that kind of wraps all the way around us to give us a better eye to protect us when things go sideways or we need some help. And then the last piece at the top of the stew is passing the farm bill. I think most people know that right now the farm bill is still still hadn't made its way out of Congress. It's currently inside the Senate, inside of the Agriculture Committee. We're going to see Congress just went back to work yesterday or 2 days ago now. And we're going to see if it will actually move its way out of there and then have to go back over to the House. So we'll continue to follow that because we need that farm bill to help farmers stay on their feet. A lot of things came through the big, beautiful bill. However, there's some gaps. And with everything that's going on from the tariffs to the war over in Iran, to drought or to too much rain, too much this, too much that, farmers are hurting out there. And so this show here is where we take the time to try to just give you a little snippet in any one of those particular pillars or stools on the legs on the stool to ensure that you better understand, regardless if you live in the rural community, suburban community, or urban community, understand the importance of agriculture and how it could potentially affect you. With that being said, now let's just jump into it. Let me tell you a little bit about what's been going here on my farm. I think it's important that you understand that I have the credibility to be able to sit in this chair and talk to you every week is because when I'm not sitting in this chair, I'm actually a cattle farmer right here in Northwest Georgia. We just started our farm about 3 years ago, started it from 5 cows, and now we have continued to grow our farm. And one of the things that a good friend of mine said, you never ask a man or a farmer how many cows they have. That's like asking how much money they got in their pocket. So what I would tell you is we're still a small farm. We're growing our farm. We're going to continue to grow the farm. We have some ideas of what we want to do, but I'm a firm believer anytime that you're growing something, sometimes slow is fast and fast is slow. So where we're putting this thing together, my wife and I, we're just taking our time and growing our farm little over time, making sure that we have all the systems in place, making sure that we have good quality cattle on the farm, making sure that when we finally move from cow-calf operation, what we're currently doing right now, and then adding the next phase into from farm to table, we actually have some of the best product that we can give to our customers. We don't plan to be able to feed the entire world, but we do plan to be able to feed our neighbors and maybe it reaches as far as Atlanta, Georgia with good quality beef. But that's still a few years out. Right now on our farm is we just finished calving season, and we just moved into, we did an AI process, artificial insemination, a few weeks ago. And then we actually brought in Bull 22. Bull 22, this is his second time coming to our farm. We call him our cleanup bull. So if any of the cows don't actually get pregnant with artificial insemination from the vet, then his job is to come and do a cleanup and make sure that those cows are pregnant. Bull 22, when he first gets here every year, he's a little cocky. You have to watch him, but he is actually a very gentle bull. And because he spends a portion of his life here on our farm, at least 2 or 3 months each year he's here on the farm, and he knows me, now he has completely changed his tune. Every morning when I go out to check on the cows, he is the first one who's standing at the gate, and he's waiting on me now to give him a back massage. So please play the video and show everybody bull number 22.
Who's my friend now? I knew it was nothing but a big baby. He loved me to come and rub his back now. Bull number 22. Just a good boy. Yeah, rascal. He loved that neck being rubbed. Yeah. Yep. Yep. Good boy. Yeah. That's what you want. Good quality bull, but gentle. Yep. Good boy. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, good boy. Good boy. All right. You have a good day.
Now, you know, I don't want y'all guys just jumping out and jumping over somebody's pasture and going out trying to give their bull a massage or something. You got to know your animals. This particular bull right here, Bull 22, like I said, this is his second year coming to our farm. Next year he will not be coming to our farm, and the reason why is because some of his offspring will be being bred next year, and I don't want to crossbreed like that. But the reality of it is, I know him, I know his temperament, and he also knows me, and he trusts me. So whenever you're dealing with bulls, be extremely careful, because you never can tell what they want to do. But what I will tell you, it's not like you see on TV that bulls will chase you if you got on a red shirt and all those kind of things. So, but key piece in our farm, I want to make sure that every animal on the farm is nice, gentle. They're not pets, but I also want to make sure that as we move into ag tourism, that when people come out to the farm, I don't have to be worried that somebody's going to get hurt from one of our cows. They're not pets, but you should be able to stand out in the pasture, take pictures, see what you're buying, and kind of go from there. And we breed for that particular trait, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. Matter of fact, I'll talk about it right now. One of the things that I'll be doing today on the farm, literally, as soon as I get off with y'all guys, because the sun is already up, I'm going out. We have all of our heifer calves. We would start the process. They have actually started being weaned off of their mothers. That means we have separated the calves away from the mothers. It was pretty noisy around here this past week. Next week, I'll share a video on that. But we have got through that particular process. So nobody's crying and making a whole bunch of noise anymore. So now today I will go out and actually do the EPDs. And my team, yep, they just put it up there on the screen. So thank you for that. When we do the EPDs, we'll go out, take just a little clip of meat from out of the ear. I'll send that off to Michigan, Kalamazoo, to a particular company. And then from there, they'll be able to give me the DNA test. And that DNA will tell us, you know, where does this heifer stand against all the rest of the cattle, not only on my farm, but throughout the United States, when it comes into cavities, when it comes into marbling of the meat, when it comes into if it's going to be gentle or not. All of those things I will get from those EPDs. And the EPDs that I'm doing is strictly for females. So I'm not doing anything on the males, because from this process, I will select later on this year out of my female heifers that I have, which one will I keep, or will I keep all of them and continue to grow the herd? You hear us talking about sometime that the United States right now is at the lowest point when it comes to the overall herd, and they asking us to keep females behind to grow the herd. We're trying to do that here on the farm, not in this case to help the government out, but like I said, we're still a small farm, so we're still trying to grow our farm, and it doesn't make sense to me to go out and buy livestock when I'm already producing some of the best livestock in the area. So just take your time, grow your stuff, and kind of go from there. But in a few weeks, I'll show you that whole process. I'll take some pictures today and then take you through that whole process so you understand it, because ultimately we're trying to produce the best cows that's going to produce the best calves. And then if and when we go into farm to table, we'll be able to give you some of the best meat from marbling and everything else. So it's a lot of science. Hopefully I didn't nerd out on y'all guys, but that's kind of what we're doing, and kind of go from there. So that was the update on the farm. What is currently going on out there in the world of agriculture? You know, I prayed. I think every farmer's prayed. Everybody's prayed. People who got gardens was praying, because we went through a long period here in Georgia and really throughout the United States of a major drought. And then the last couple of weeks, we have had rain. And I'm the first one to say, I think you talk to any farmer, none of us are saying, please stop the rain, because we needed it. As you look here at this map now, you know, Georgia a few weeks ago was an extreme situation when it came to drought. With all of the rain, with all of the rain, we are still in a period of drought, but we have came a long ways, because we were actually down in a D3. That's extreme drought. Now up here in Northwest Georgia, we have moved into, let me look at that a little bit closer. We're in the moderate drought. We still are forecasted for some rain in about 10 more days. But with that being said, how is this now affecting us when it comes to our crops, when it comes to hay, when it comes to all those things? The reality of it is now we have received so much rain that our farmers that are doing the row crops, that's peanuts, soybeans, and cotton, and all those kind of things, are struggling to get those crops in the field, or if they already got them in the field, they're struggling to get back out there because it's so muddy. And then on the flip side of the coin, in my lane, I don't actually go out and bale the hay. I actually purchase my hay from another farmer here in our local community, that part of his business is producing hay. Well, the reality of it is two things has actually happened. One, we was in the middle of a drought and the grass was not growing, and some farmers actually had to sell some of their cattle off. And then on the flip side of the coin, then it started raining so much, and it rained for about 10, 12 days straight. Now we just this week started getting some sunlight. So the question is it dry enough for them to get out in the field? And will it be long enough for the hay to dry out enough so that they can actually bale it up? Ultimately, I am concerned, like other farmers may be a little concerned, that how this will have an effect on the price of hay later on this year or later on this summer, because Now they got high fuel prices, high diesel prices. They actually getting out there in the fields a little late. And will they be able to get enough cuttings off of those fields so that people like me that have already put an order in for bales of hay or rows of hay, depending on what you're buying, will they be able to give you what you need and ultimately get you through the winter? With that being said, can you actually play the video where it's talking about the rain and the drought and all those kind of things, please?
Right now, most of Monroe County is listed as being in extreme drought. That's according to the U.S. Drought Monitor. Welcome back. Tonight, a Monroe County hay farmer says he and his crops are in a difficult spot. It comes after a tough growing season with new costs due to rising prices, and now the drought and then this week's rain are keeping him from harvesting. Olivia Dunn breaks down the issues farmers are facing and explains how this could impact your wallet.
Billy Sullivan says the recent weather is just another problem during an already difficult season. He says this problem is bigger than him and could eventually affect consumers.
Never seen anything like it.
Sullivan prayed for this rain. Now he's praying for it to stop. The Monroe farmer grows Bermuda grass hay for horses across the southeast. He says the current drought was one problem, but now the ground is too wet for him to harvest and get his product to customers.
You can cut it, but you're not going to get the hay dry. It's going to stay wet. So you need a few days of dry weather to suck up this moisture.
A problem Sullivan expects to cost him
well over $100,000.
And his customers.
It's going to have an effect. We are definitely going up on prices.
But it's not just weather.
It's the perfect storm: weather, fertilizer prices, fuel prices. It's just, you know, it's really crazy.
Sullivan says it's not just hay farmers hurting from higher prices and foul weather. With rising fuel and fertilizer costs, most farmers are paying more to produce. And that cost can show up in what you pay.
Regardless if you can, how much you can get for a pound of beef, but if your input costs, your hay, your feed, all this other goes in, then it kind of negates it.
Sullivan says he plans to start his next cut as soon as the weather permits. Reporting in Monroe County, Olivia Dunn, 13 WMAZ News.
Yeah, I was just riding around yesterday. I had to run over to Alabama real quick to run over to the vet, and I noticed there was a lot of guys out cutting hay. That was a great sight for me to see because, like I said, I'm a small farm, so I don't actually have all the equipment to cut the hay. I purchase hay from other farmers or particularly one farmer. And so I was just glad to see that they're actually out there getting at it. We got to have a few more days of good sunny weather, but I think next week is going to start raining again. So he's exactly right. With all the input costs, with everything that's going on, many of us as farmers are always a little nervous to make sure because you're currently thinking about today, but you're always thinking about 6 months down the road. And 6 months down the road is the winter and making sure that we actually have some hay that we can actually feed the cows. But let's move on from that. The biggest issue that's affecting agriculture right now, at least on the livestock side of the house, is, and I'm not sure if you've been tracking it, it's the screwworm. I think it was 2 days ago. Yes, 2 days ago now. A screwworm was identified in southern Texas. This has been an issue that we've been talking about now for about the last year. It was down in Mexico, but some kind of way it has actually crossed over into the United States. I would tell you, this is not something that you need to be panicking about. We have a way to control it. We have a spray that if the cow is actually bit by a screwworm, we can actually give them some medicine and they'll be just fine. And then the cow, if it goes into the food system, is also fine. So I want to make sure that when you hear us talk about this, you don't think about mad cow and all those kind of things. This is not that situation. However, we do we do have to control the movement of cattle, because these flies, and I'll let the video give you some more detail, but these flies can only travel about 12 miles. But the way they actually travel mainly is they bite a particular cow, they put the larva on the cow, it bites the cow, and then we as humans move those cows throughout the United States, and that is how it starts spreading everywhere. So USDA has already put some control measures in place. But before I get out in front of myself, we're going to go on and play the video, and then I'll give you some additional information on the backside.
This morning, concern among cattle farmers now that a case of New World screwworm has been detected in the U.S. The Agriculture Department confirming a calf in South Texas is infected with the parasitic fly, which can kill livestock if not treated.
This pest does not cause any sort of a food safety issue. It is not a disease, but simply an insect that feeds on living tissues. Animals treated early enough will recover and are safe to enter the food supply system.
The news comes just days after Secretary Rollins dismissed a local lawmaker's warning that screwworm was detected in Mexico, just a mile from the U.S. border.
The screwworms are very aggressive. They kind of hook themselves into live tissue, and it can be very, very destructive.
The parasitic flies were eradicated from the U.S. back in the 1960s. A human case was confirmed in an international traveler last year. That person recovered.
This is something that sounds very scary, but the threat to humans, especially people in the United States, is very, very low at this time. People who are at a higher risk are individuals who hang around livestock.
But one major concern is the beef industry, which is already struggling. Beef prices are up 13% in the last year. One factor, fewer cattle. The U.S. cattle herd is at a 75-year low because of extreme weather, high feed costs, and industry consolidation. The screwworm could make matters worse.
Since cattle are much bigger and much slower to reproduce, it takes many years to fix the problem.
In response, the government is ramping up efforts to release sterile flies and will quarantine the area in Texas where the infected calf was found.
Yeah, the key there is we have detected it, which is great. We're putting control measures in place. And I think based off the things that we learned in the 60s and the things that we actually have in place today, and we'll do a show on this in great detail, but I think we don't have anything to worry about. Systems are put in place and we should be just fine. One of the other things I just want to bring out to you is we talked about cattle in that particular situation. The reality of it is any warm-blooded host, so that could be goats, pigs, whatever, these flies can actually put up, that could be the host itself. So we talk about it in the aspect of cattle, but it could be with any animal. And I'm confident the USDA is going to get their hands around this. But my advice to you is just take the time, reach out to your veterinarian. There's no panic, no nothing, and just make sure that you understand what you need to do if you have something happen on your farm. But the other piece of that, I would also encourage you, whatever state you're in. I sit in the state of Georgia. Go to the Commission of Agriculture's website. They should already have some guidance on there and keeping you up to date. But as of right now, here in Georgia and surrounding parts of Georgia, we don't actually have a problem at all. So I want to make sure that's clear. We don't have a problem at all. However, from a United States point of view, the screwworm has moved from Mexico into Texas. And because it's moved into Texas, and now we definitely have to deal with it. And I won't get too deep into it today, but at the end of the day, I'm confident that we're going to get our hands around it and we'll be just fine. But my advice to all of our farmers and people throughout is just reach out to the veterinarian, just kind of ask them the simple question and just make sure that you know what to look for and kind of go from there, because we talk about it from a cattle point of view, but it could actually get on any type animal that you have. Usually it's happening around a farm. Usually if it gets on a person, it's somebody that actually is dealing with animals every day. But again, This threat is very low to us here in Georgia or this part of the country, but it has moved into Texas, and we want to make sure that it does not spread, and we actually stop it in its tracks. And next week, when I do a show, I'll go into some greater details of how do we actually stop it and kind of go from there. Don't want to hold you too long this morning. And the reason why I don't want to hold you too long this morning is because guess what? I'm headed outside. I talked about the EPDs earlier. I got to go out, catch the heifers up. Those are my calves. Catch them up, go out, take the little thing out of the ear, and then get it to the post office today so it can go to Kalamazoo, Michigan, and they can actually test it for me and give me some feedback. And the cool thing about on a farm, you can either talk about it or you can do it. And talking about it don't get anything done. So like all the rest of the farmers and everybody else out there, even the people that are in the city that have their gardens and everything else, the people that are growing vegetables inside of buildings, the whole 9 yards, all of us got to get out of the house, get outside and actually go get it done. So with that being said, I say it every week, farmers have pressure, unbelievable pressure on them. As y'all guys know, I did many years in the military. That life is behind me now. But I also understand that our farmers are under unbelievable pressure right now with the tariffs, with the cost of everything, with the high gas prices, with everything that's going on, trying to make ends meet, trying to make everything work out with rain or too much rain. Sometimes you get a little bit stressful. What I would actually ask every last one of our farmers and every last one of the farmers' family, if you're having a tough day, don't make a long-term decision for a short-term issue. Please pick up the phone and dial 988. That number will actually have a professional on the other line that will be able to talk to you and help you get to the next day. And I assure you, when you get to the next day, the sun will still come up. It'll be okay. And you will be able to work your way through it, because I know it's unbelievable pressure on you right now that you don't want to be the one that lose the family farm. So again, if you take nothing else from my show today, take this. So if a farmer's out there struggling, somebody can help him or her make that phone call and get them some help. And this number is something I would like to talk about every week. With that being said, hey, it's 7:27. 7:27. A couple things I plan to do here in the next couple of weeks is kind of figure out, do we keep the show the way I have it now, where we do it in the morning, or do I do in-depth discussions, kind of like we did a few months ago where I talked about PFAS? Do I do an in-depth things like that, or whatever? I would ask you, if you go to my other websites, you will see today we will post some things, specific things that talks about the screwworm that I didn't want to go into too much detail this morning. But we will have it up on the website so that our farmers or anybody else can have the information and kind of go from there. And then I would also encourage you, if you live here in Georgia, to go to the Commissioner of Agriculture's page and get the most updated information on what's going on or what Georgia's doing when it comes to screwworm. So we actually got, it's roughly about 7:30 now. When I look over here, my cup is empty. Well, it wasn't that empty, but it's empty now. Hey, guys, have a great day. Have a safe weekend. See you next week.